Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mackie Dykes with the Connecticut Green Bank. We still have folks joining, so we'll give folks a few more minutes and we'll get started. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Stabilized here in terms of people joining, so I think we've got everyone we're going to get. Thanks for joining this afternoon to our sort of second webinar that we're having on the transition to the new solar tariff and its implications for the Green Bank products. Couple announcements. We will be recording the webinar, so everyone be on their best behavior with any questions, and also we'll make it available after the fact. If you do have questions, then please type them into the Q&A panel there on your go-to little toolbox, and we will get to those at the end of the presentation. So today we'll be talking first about CPACE. We have an announcement generally on our interest rates for certain projects, and then we'll dig into the SIR calculator and project examples under the new tariff. On our last webinar at the end of last year, we talked about the tariff, and we showed some sort of two pro formas of CPACE projects under this tariff. Today I'll bring the calculator up live and just show everyone how to enter projects into it, how you can compare by all and netting projects or tariff options. And this calculator, we did make it available. So you can, if you go to our website, it's under the Contractor Resources section at cpace.com. If you want to grab it, you can play along at home. But again, it's up there. You'll be able to download it at your leisure and use it. We'll also talk about our solar roof lease. We talked about that in the last webinar a little bit, but we've got a little more info on that. So real quick, for folks that don't know a little bit about us, we're the Connecticut Green Bank, nation's first green bank, started back in 2011. To figure out how to take our Green Bank public dollars and create partnerships with private capital investors to drive clean energy investment in Connecticut. and help us meet help the state reach its energy policy goals and confront the challenges of climate change. We've sort of restructured, I don't know what the right word is, but yeah, I guess restructure would be the right word. We've sort of divided ourselves into 3 different areas now. We've got our home solutions, our building solutions, and investment solutions. Myself and my team that everyone's come to know and love over the last few years is the CPACE team, the commercial and industrial team, financing programs teams. We're the ones that are offering the building solutions. So we'll be talking about a few of our products that fit into our building solutions suite here today. All right, so let's first talk CPACE. So as I mentioned, we've got interest rates deal or reduction for projects that are $500,000 or less. We're going to be reducing our rates for at least the next year. This is to really target what Connecticut's small and mid-sized businesses and help to grow projects in this space. So we'll be reducing our baseline rate 0.5%. That's off all our suite of rates, which are tied to loan terms anywhere from 5 to 25 years. Those will just go down by 0.5%. And for any project that includes an EV charger or a battery storage system, the rate will reduce. For our standard rate, it'll go down 75 basis points, so additional 25, so a total of 0.75%. As folks are probably aware, the state just launched both a EV charging incentive program as well as a battery storage system incentive program, which the Green Bank is administering along with the EDCs. So in order to, on the financing side, help both those programs reach their goals, we're including this little eligible or additional incentive. All right, so let's jump into the SIR calculator. So as I mentioned, the new solar calculator is available on our website at cpace.com. I should have put that on here. That would have been helpful. But pretty easy to remember, cpace.com. And then there's the link. You can find it, sort of got the red box there, that saving to investment ratio calculator. We've updated it to, as you'll see in a second, to reflect the new solar tariff, both options, as well as the rate reductions that I just mentioned for projects that are eligible. So what I wanted to spend a little time today here doing was actually going into that calculator and sort of putting in 2 example projects for 2 reasons. One, just to show you how it works, how to plug projects in, and then 2, just so you can also get a sense for the economics of a CPACE project under the new tariff structure, and how it still is very, very favorable for the customer. So we'll start with a small zero emission project. As folks might be aware, the new program, similar to ZREC, has 3 size buckets: small, medium, and large. The bucket sizes are a little different. For the small, it now goes up to 200 kilowatts AC. So this project at 180 kilowatts AC fits right into the top end of that. For both these projects that we'll do, we'll take an Eversource Rate 30 customer and run them through a solar project financed by CPACE. So let me switch over to the calculator. And Rob, if you could just, Rob Schmidt, our MC, if you could just confirm for me that the Excel spreadsheet is visible now.
Yep, we can see your Excel.
Great, okay. So when you open up the calculator, you'll see this disclaimer screen. Just read through things, and then you click the button here to understand and accept the disclaimers, and it takes you in to the input screen. So we'll just go to the top here. Put some basic project info in here. So today's date, we'll just do ABC Business, 123 Main Street in Hartford. I don't know the Hartford zip codes off the top of my head, so I'll just put that in. We'll say that they are using, let's just say 2 million kilowatt hours. So this is important, really just because of the sizing restrictions under the new tariff program. Unless you expect some sort of beneficial electrification to increase the electric usage on site, then you're limited to a solar system that is going to produce at this the historical usage. So as I mentioned, this is an Eversource customer. They're on rate 30. Their electric cost, 9.7 cents. And then here, the CPACE standard ceiling has been 2.99% for the utility escalator. So we'll use that here. I think I might have said 2.5 actually on my slide. Let me do that just so it all matches up. Okay, we're going to assume this is a for-profit entity that can take the tax credits. Now we're down in the tax and depreciation section. They are also going to take advantage of the accelerated depreciation. Their marginal tax rate, this is important to understand the value of that depreciation. The default is 21%, so I'll just put that here. And as everyone knows, the ITC is 26%, so that's filled in. All right, so now let's get into the actual solar system details. So our size is 243,000 DC, 180 AC. This is a small zero emission project at 180. The year one production, we'll do 267, sort of 12.5% capacity factor, so sort of an average project. The cost, we'll do 510,300, so $2.10 a watt. The roof structural improvement cost, so this is if there's any, as the name says, any sort of roof or structural cost that the customer wants to finance on top of just the solar cost. So this, these would, per the calculator, these would not be ITC eligible cost. We'll put $0 in there. Okay, so here's two important inputs. So this is the buy all bid-in, buy all sell all tariff rate. So this is a small project. So these are set by Pura. The buy all rate is set at $200.97. So that's 20.97 cents. And then the netting tariff rec value, that is, again, for smalls, is also set by Pura at just over 9.5 cents. So I'm putting that in. So I'm just gonna, for the calculator's purpose, you don't have to put both in. If you know you're doing a buy all or you know you're doing a tariff, excuse me, a netting tariff, you can just put whichever one you're doing in. I'm gonna put both in here so we can compare those two. The tariff term in Connecticut, the new tariff is 20 years, so that's pre-populated. We now have a few sections on the warranties. This is important because we want to see the project warranted throughout the financing term. So we're going to do a 20-year financing term, so I'm just going to assume we've got the modules at that, and say we've got a 10-year warranty on the inverters, and we're also getting an extended warranty to take it up to 20. And so our overall expected useful life on the system is 20 years. The performance degradation, we assume 0.5%. You can change that, but I'm going to leave that here for now. And then these were auto-populated based on the above. All right, so just finalizing our financed amount here, we've got the project cost. If there are any grants going into the project, we can put those in here. So that would be something like an Energy on the Line grant, which is our the Green Bank program for manufacturers that do a CPACE project. We'll just assume there's no grant in this case. And then if the owners put it in any equity, you can put that in here. So that would take it out of the financed amount. So I'll put 0, we're going to finance 100% of the cost. So that leaves us with that amount I put in earlier, the 510,300. This auto calculates the CPACE, the Green Bank CPACE closing fees, and then it adds it in here to our total financed amount. And finally, we go down to our CPACE financing inputs. Really, all you're selecting here is the term, and the rest will auto-populate. So typically for solar, we see 20 years. So it picks our rate there. If you want to do less, you can see the rate will auto-populate, but I'm going to do 20 just because that's our standard, or the one we see for the most for solar. So once you've got everything in, populated, now get down, we've got a few buttons. Which, depending on which tariff option you want to see, you can select. So if you want to do just the buy-all, you press that. If you want to do just the netting, you press that. Obviously, if you're going to do just one, you need to make sure you've put a value in for the tariff value for either one you're going to do. In this case, we want to compare them both. So I'll press that, and what it's going to do is you'll see here down at the bottom, a couple tabs now populate based on all the inputs that we put here. So we'll start, let's do the buy all. So here you see really the full project detail. This is what I showed on the last webinar. So you have all the revenue from the buy all tariff. So in this case, the utility is paying that whatever your rate is, your buy all rate, they're paying you that for every kilowatt hour. So that's your primary, really your only energy related revenue for a buy all tariff project. You see all the tax benefits here, they're going into year 1. And so this section here gives all your revenue from the project. Here are the PACE payments. And then as you can see, the net cash flow from this project is positive throughout all 20 years of the CPACE financing. So there we go. So a small project at an overall SIR of 1.4 is pretty healthy and pretty attractive project. I'll just note for the calculator is not assuming any revenue after year 20. My personal interpretation of what we've seen from the utilities is that after that point, the system owner, so in the case of CPACE, that would be the building owner, they would retain, or the RECs would, you'd stop transferring those through the tariff to the utility, and they would retain ownership of those. So there would still be some, presumably, assuming the whole structure is still around in 20 years, there would be some value to those class 1 RECs. And then also the utilities have seemed to indicate that the electricity could potentially be purchased at the wholesale rate. So I presume the systems would still be producing after year 20. There would be some sort of marginal value, or depending on your view of where wholesale prices will be in 20 years, maybe not marginal, but some value to the electricity after that. But we're taking a conservative approach with the calculator and just doing 20 years. And then on the netting side, switch over to that. Bottom line, little healthier overall for the SIR than the buy all at 1.5. That's really just because what's net metering. So with the rising electricity prices, the value of the electricity is going up over the 20 years. It's not fixed like in the buy-all. So here you see it's not revenue, you see the avoided electric cost savings from the electricity. And then separately, you've got the REC revenue. So that's based on the, in this case, the just over $95 REC, which is assigned for the small zero emission projects. And then again, the same tax benefits. So that, and then, we've got some other sort of summary tabs and things that show some of the key metrics from the project. But it's really it. So again, this is a great tool for, we had this before, but I think it continues to be a great tool with, now that it's updated with the new tariff for comparing the two options and showing the value of each to a customer. So let me switch back to my slides. So now I'm back on the, should be back on the presentation. So that was the small zero emission project. Now I'm going to switch to do a medium. So this will be 550 kilowatts AC. So this will fall under the medium zero emission bucket for the new tariff. So this is the medium and the large are competitive. So folks are familiar with ZRECs, the ZREC program where you would bid in a REC value. The tariff program will be similar to that, but you'll have two different choices of what you can bid in, either a buy-all bid or a netting bid. What I did here, you'll see at the bottom a buy-all and a netting value. This is from the utilities bid comparison calculator. I wanted to, when we sort of run the project through the calculator, I wanted to pick two bids or a netting bid and a buy-all bid that were comparable. So I took an $80 REC bid, which, under the old program, $80 for a medium ZREC. I mean, that, it's certainly a reasonable amount. So you see that as the bid price under the netting, the yellow field. When you calculate the evaluated bid price, so what that means is when the utilities are conducting the auction and they've got to compare a netting bid to a buy-all bid, they've got to pick which one is the more attractive bid, and which one's the winner, which one's lower. So the calculator that they supplied does that. It shows how they will evaluate a netting bid versus a buy-all bid. We could probably spend the next hour going through how that's done and the assumptions that are in there and whether they're reasonable or not. And a lot of that did happen at Pura during the process, so I won't belabor it here. So it just is what it is here, right? So I took that $80, ran it through. You see the evaluated bid price, and I'm just going to use that as our buy-all bid. So again, that these are comparable from an auction competitiveness standpoint. All right, with that all said, let's go into our calculator. So I'm going to go back to the inputs. I'm just going to change some of the key inputs to reflect now our medium project. We'll assume it's the same customer. They just changed their mind. They want a bigger system. Same inputs, the Eversource rate 30. Their electric cost is still the same. All the tax benefits are there. Go down to the solar PV inputs. This is what we're changing. They've decided on a bigger system. Doing 740,000 this time. 550 AC. Year one, it's going to produce 810,000. It's going to cost a little more, 1.3 million. So build cost here, given the larger size, I'm going to assume a slightly lower per watt cost. So this one's $1.80. Still, the roof's in good shape, so we're not going to assume any cost there. All right, so here's where we reflect the bids. So on the buy-all, this would be 191 0.67, so just over 19 cents. And then on the netting tariff rec value, so this is very akin to a ZREC now. This would be, assume 8 cents or $80 rec. Again, still 20-year tariff term. We get a 20-year life on the system. Degradation will keep it 5%. All right, back down to the finance input. So project cost 1.3 million. No grants here. It's not a manufacturer. Project cost. You see the higher closing fees to reflect the higher financed amount. Still do 20 years. And I don't need to press the buttons. Actually, it's automatically been updating here. All right, so let's start with the buy all. So yeah, this actually, given the lower build cost, even though the bid is slightly lower than before, it's a cheaper system. So you see a slightly better SIR. I think just one thing I'll highlight, go back over the inputs. I don't know. We haven't had an auction yet. Don't know what 19 cents will look like. But you could argue that's a high bid, somewhat close to the cap. So I'll just show you. You can, even with much lower numbers, say 15.5 cents. On the buy all side, you're still this is a healthy SIR, and you're cash flow positive for most of the years. So again, I think CPACE, just to highlight the fact that CPACE brings a good value at various levels of bid prices. So we'll just put back our original price in the interest of keeping these comparable. So switching over to the netting side under that $80 rec bid. So again, as I think, when these bid prices are the same from at least an evaluated bid perspective, on the netting side, you're always going to see slightly better savings or better SIR just because of that escalating electricity rate, at least at the 2.99% that we've assumed here. So again, as the key points, SIR is positive throughout all 20 years, meaning the amount that they're saving is greater than what they're paying on their CPACE payments. So they're cash flow positive for all 20 years. And, again, even at lower amounts, so we'll say a $60 rec, still very healthy SIR, 1.478, even, I think even down into the 50s, yeah, still very healthy. So, there's a lot of room here on to play around with your bids and still show very attractive economics to customers using CPACE. I was going to wait on questions until the end, but I think since we're in the middle of this calculator, why don't I pause and Rob, see if there's any questions that would be best addressed now that we're sort of in the midst of the calculator. We'll come back at the end too.
Yeah, not a ton of questions right now. Only questions are if the spreadsheet that you're showing is available for everybody to use right now.
Yes, it is. Go back. Yeah, we will send it out after this, along with these slides. But you can go to our website here, cpace.com, and in the Contractor Resource Center, you can download it right now.
And Mac, just a request for you to show that summary part of the spreadsheet, if you could.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, I like the SIR model. It gets into all the details, but arguably this is much easier to follow. Got just the basics here. All right. So again, this will be available, or it is available. You can go in there and play with it and put different project scenarios in. All right, so I'm going to move on now to our solar roof lease. Similar to our PPA, our roof lease will be offered with our partner, Inclusive Prosperity Capital. So, again, for those of you that have done a PPA project, you'll know you're sometimes dealing with IPC, the acronym for Inclusive Prosperity Capital. Sometimes you're dealing with someone from that team. Sometimes you're dealing with us. But we together sort of offer this product here in Connecticut. So just think of it as interchangeable. That's the same with the roof lease. So how does a roof lease work? So the green bank would sign the lease with the property owner. We would then work with you on the development and the construction of the system. We would front 100% of the cost to build that system, and then we'd be the long-term owner of it and responsible for all the asset management, all the long-term O&M and all that. This would, all these roof leases projects would be done under the buy all sell all tariff. And the 100% of that tariff revenue would be assigned or directed towards the green bank and IPC as the system owner. So that is our revenue. As the system produces energy over the 20 years, 100% of that buy all tariff revenue comes to the green bank. And then we're in turn making roof lease payments, fixed roof lease payments to the building owner. So it's somewhat similar to our power purchase agreement structure, but there are some key differences. Both of them allow a building owner to go solar and help the environment. Both structures allow no upfront cost. The Green Bank and IPC are funding 100% of the cost. The ownership and the O&M requirements stay with the Green Bank as the system owner. Just like the PPA, both of these allow for an institution that can't access the tax benefits of solar. This third-party ownership structure, just like the PPA, allows those benefits to be monetized and some of that value passed on. In a PPA, it's through a reduced PPA rate. In the case of a roof lease, it's a higher, so without the ITC, then the roof, if we could even offer a payment, it would certainly be much lower. So the building owner is able to capture some of the value of those tax benefits. We also can fit in, we can cover some roof repairs as part of the cost. Some of the key differences, and this is where I'm excited about this product because I think it can help open up new customers and markets because of some of these differences. The roof lease decouples the income stream from the system performance. I mean, when a building owner buys a system, they're carrying the full production risk because they don't receive the return on their investment unless that system is producing. The PPA shifts that to a large degree, where the building owner is buying the electricity at a reduced rate, and they're only paying for the electricity that's produced. But when there's downtime, the system's not producing, then there's lost savings. So they don't have to pay anything, but they still do have to purchase electricity at the utility rate. So there's sort of whatever that value of lost savings is based on non-production. The roof lease even further shifts that risk away from the building owner because the income stream, that lease payment, is not based on system performance. If we don't do a great job of O&M and takes us too long to get someone out there to get the system up and running, or you just got like a piece of equipment that's not doing producing what it should, it doesn't matter. We're still going to make the same lease payment. Like I said, it just further takes that risk out of the hands of the building owner. There's also no credit requirements or financial underwriting for a lease. So we won't have to go through that document collection and the time for that process. I mean, there's other requirements in our typical insurance requirements. If there's a mortgage, there'll be an SNDA that needs to be signed. So, there are some things, but the financial underwriting, being able to take that out of the picture, I think will make this a much easier pill to swallow for a lot of customers. Along those lines, easier pill to swallow. We also don't need CPACE for the roof lease. As folks who've worked with us in the past will know, for many PPA customers, we like to secure that PPA with the CPACE assessment. With the roof lease, we simply don't need that security. So don't have to sort of add that complication into the process with the roof lease. So for all those reasons, I think the roof lease is just simpler and faster. For a customer, you don't need to explain net metering, what RECs are, to get the ins and outs of what can be a complicated thing to understand. Now it's just, hey, you've got this roof that is just sitting there and not earning you any value. You can turn it into a tenant essentially. You can monetize it with this roof lease. And given the process, things that I alluded to earlier, no CPACE, no financial underwriting, it can be a faster process than some of the other options for going solar. And then lastly, as I mentioned, there is this revenue difference. With the PPA, you're actually reducing the electric bill, you're reducing the electric cost because the building is just not purchasing the same as much electricity since it's receiving the electricity from the system on the roof. This will be under a buy-all tariff, so separately interconnected. There will be that buy-all revenue that is all going to the green bank. So there will be no sort of electric bill implication for the property owner. It's all going to be, they'll realize all the value through that lease payment. So, wanted to put out here just for folks to get a framework for the types of lease payments we were able to make. This is pretty rough and based on a few inputs here. I mean, I think, as everyone knows, a key to a lot of this will be what the actual tariff bid is. But as you can see, it's kind of a healthy range. So we've built in sort of a degree of flexibility around those. Yeah, I guess nothing, just sort of sit here so that folks can read through the table. And nothing else. And again, we'll send this all out, so this will be available for folks. So next steps, we're open for business. We are pricing roof leases for folks and are ready to price more. I've got a link here for our pricing portal. There's a little snapshot of it. This is under sort of IPC's world, so you'll see them at the top, but this is our roof lease. If you want to get a quote for a roof lease, when you put in all the project info, just down at the bottom in the notes, if you'll just make it clear that you'd like the price for the roof lease, you can get both the PPA and a roof lease quote, or just one if you'd like. One question I'll put out to everyone, and if you have feedback on this, please email us and let us know. We're looking, or we're trying to figure out the appropriate number of payments for customers. Right now, as alluded to here in the table with the annual lease price, we're thinking of making a once-a-year payment. The initial feedback we've gotten is that is fine from a customer standpoint. If you have strong feelings about that, or think that that customers are going to need more than that, then please let us know so we can get that number right in our agreement. Also, I've got this image over here to the right. We've got some sell sheets available that'll be up on the website, and we'll also make that we'll send that around so that folks will have that. so you can leave this with your customers to explain the product to them. All right. That is it for the presentation. Let me turn it over to Rob Schmidt to go through any questions we've gotten.
Sure, thanks, Mackie. Just a reminder to everyone, if you have any questions, please use that question box, or you can use the chat box to send those in. We've only got a couple right now. Mackie, the first question, is a lease for a ground mount an option?
Oh, thank you. Yes, should have mentioned that. We were talking right actually before we started the webinar about whether we need to change the name because yeah, maybe site lease is the better way to put it, because yeah, it does not have to be on the roof. Can be ground mounted, can be a carport. Really, any project that is eligible for the non-residential tariff program and that gets a buy all bid, we can do through a roof lease. So, yep, put it on the ground, put it on a carport, put it on the roof, put it wherever, as long as it works, we can do it.
Another question here about the roof lease. The question is, are all towns in Connecticut in play for roof lease options?
No. It's just any project that is eligible for the non-residential tariff can get a roof lease. So the same issue that applied with municipalities or CMEC, the municipal utilities, which didn't participate in the ZREC program. They're also not a part of the new solar tariff program. So for the most, I mean, we can look at those on a one-off basis to see those towns tend to have different programs for solar. We're happy to look at one to see if it can work, but can't say across the board that it works for every town. Right? Right now, I can just say it works definitely for assuming the prices are right for any town that participates in the non-residential tariffs, any Eversource or UI customers. The others would have to be on a one-off basis.
Great. And a question on the timing around these leases and their availability. Are these going to be available throughout the year or only during the buy all bid windows?
Throughout the year. So we'd want to, make sure you have the actual sort of tariff award in place before we finalize everything. But we can actually, do all that work, enter into the contract, and fund construction and everything at any point throughout the year.
Great. And
from a process perspective, we can, if you're working with a customer now to inform a bid into the upcoming auction, if you want to, you can go to the pricing portal, you can put the project details in, and the bid price you're thinking about. If you want to test out a couple options to see what type of lease prices we can provide under different bid or different vary your cost, vary your bid, whatever, we can sort of help you zero in on the right numbers for your bid. And then after the fact, once you get an award, you've already got your bid pricing, or lease pricing, because we did it in advance, or if you come back to us, if we haven't done it already, and we can price whatever you got awarded.
Great. One question here about the typical turnaround time for pricing requests.
We asked for around 48 hours. If Louise or any other member from the finance team want to correct me on that, but our standard is 48 hours.
Yes, that's correct, Mikey.
Thank you.
Right. One question here about if batteries will be included.
We are working on that. We're trying to figure out the appropriate structure, and if you've got a project now that you're scoping with a customer and you're interested in our financing, whether through the lease or the PPA or whatever, please do reach out. And we're happy to work with you on integrating it. At a high level, yes, we have the capability and the funds to do it.
Great. Just one other question here, but again, if anybody has any other questions, we have a few more minutes, so please pop those into the question box. I think this one, Mackie, is really about the tariff here. It's asking about environmental justice zones. There's 25 towns that receive the distressed community adder, but additional towns and areas falling under environmental justice zones. Do we have any idea if these might be included with that adder for distressed communities at some point?
I don't. My understanding, and again, we're the Green Bank, we're a quasi-public. We are, however, not the administrator of the non-residential or the residential solar tariff. That's the EDCs. So we can't. None of what I'm saying or any of what we're representing here is sort of official program. We're not speaking on behalf of the program. But yeah, I believe it's right now it's just distressed municipalities that get that bid preference, which I believe is a 20% bid preference. So it's not an adder. You're not going to get 20% added to your bid. Your bid will be evaluated at a lower level. So if you bid 10 cents and you're in a distressed municipality and someone else builds 9 cents for their buy-all, you're still going to win because your bid will actually be evaluated 20% less, so at 8 cents, but you'll get the 10% tariff rate. But all that said, yeah, I don't know about any plans to expand who else gets that bid preference treatment.
Great, and we did have one other question come in here, a few more popping in. One is regarding other energy upgrades like HVAC and other efficiency measures. I'm not sure if the question is specifically pertaining to the roof lease or just what our other options are available for those.
Got it. Well, yeah, we're not sort of expanded broadly into the equipment lease business. So we're not doing leasing for other equipment. I think there's plenty of options in the market for equipment leasing generally. So we're not doing that. So yeah, this is just solar, battery storage, and then as I mentioned, we can add sort of associated costs such as roof upgrades or things like that into the roof lease structure. We do separately have CPACE that's available for building owners that want to buy the HVAC equipment or really any equipment that is going to reduce the energy consumption of their building. We can finance the purchase of that equipment through CPACE, but no leasing options available through the Green Bank for that.
Great, and just another question here on the roof lease. If you could just recap that really quickly and explain again how it's different from CPACE.
From CPACE, just so CPACE, not the PPA, Rob? Yep, okay. So it's different from CPACE because with CPACE we don't say it, but it's essentially, CPACE is essentially debt for a building owner to purchase a system. So we're lending them the money to contract directly with you to build them a solar system that they will own. They will take the tax credits from. They would receive 100% of the tariff revenue, whether it's buy all, sell all, or the REC revenue. And then they would have all the responsibility of owning the system, all the O&M and everything, all that responsibility would fall with them. What they're obligated to us to do is to pay back the CPACE financing that we gave them. So, typically twice a year, they're paying us back a fixed amount for the term of the CPACE assessment. So in that case, and then the roof lease, they don't own the system. It's the Green Bank and IPC that own it. And we're taking all that revenue. We're taking all of that production risk, and we are paying the building owner an annual lease payment. So, I mean, one of the key differences really is in terms of risk, I think. With CPACE, they're buying the system and they're taking on all the production risk, but they're taking all the upside with that. I mean, when you can price a project for you, when you run that lease price alongside a CPACE purchase price, the numbers are going to be better for them to purchase it. It's really just a question of risk because they have it all. No matter what happened with the system, under the case of CPACE, they're going to have to pay us back. They're going to have to make their CPACE payment. With the roof lease, they're not worrying about any of that or any of that O&M. They're just enjoying the annual lease payments from us. If anyone else on the team wants to sort of pile on to that, but maybe to me, that's sort of the key differences between the two. Nope. Okay.
We do have a question here about what happens at the end of the lease. Is there a buyout option for the building owner?
It's a good question, which this is a change from before. Yeah, so there's an option to buy out, or we will remove the system. Previously, under the PPA, there was an extension option. Most likely, given the fact that was because net metering would still continue after the 20 years. Now with the tariff, that you just get 20 years of whether it's the netting or the buy-all electricity revenue. So don't think there'll be an option to extend. So yeah, definitely will offer either removal of the system or ownership can transfer.
All right, and we did have one of our viewers observe you're using a 2.5% annual rate increase. Is this what the Green Bank would like to see from contractors when evaluating savings to investment ratio from here on?
No, we 10.99 is what we'll accept. The guide selected, I believe that's what the utilities were using in their bid comparison calculator. So I think that's why I picked it for this purposes. But 2.99 has been the CPACE standard, and you can continue to use that or whatever you feel. And if you feel comfortable, or want to be more conservative with your customers and use a smaller number, it's certainly fine. But yeah, 2.99 would be the maximum that will allow for purposes of seeing if the SIR works.
What type of customers, what types of buildings do we see taking up the Green Bank on this roof lease offer?
Yeah, I think it's going to be some of the sort of traditional customers that have gravitated towards a third party owned. So anyone that doesn't have the federal tax liability. But I also think some for-profit entities that just didn't want to go through either the risk or arguably the headache. It's just too much to wrap their heads around a solar purchase. or even a PPA, the simplicity and risk profile of the lease, I think, makes many just for-profit customers that fall into that bucket. I think it's attractive for them. Also, I guess the buyout rate generally, but anyone who had has a low electricity rate that is hard previously to get a PPA to pencil. It's worth taking another look at because you might be able to make it pencil with the buy-all, sell-all tariff and the combined with the roof lease. I also think many multi-tenant properties, the new tariff allows you to aggregate all the meters on a property or even contiguous parcels if they have the same owner. So you can aggregate all those together and to build behind one large project behind one meter. And I mean, you have to use the buy-all for that, but yeah, I think that in those cases, it could be attractive for those property owners. All right, well, we are right at the hour. Thanks everyone for joining. Like I said, we'll distribute this slides, the calculator, the cell materials. If you do have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email is mackey.dykes@ctgreenbank.com. Or I think a lot of you already know a lot of the team here. So please reach out with any questions. And we're ready to get working with you on your projects. So please go to the pricing portal, which here's the link again, and start putting your projects in. And again, just request down at the bottom if you want a roof lease quote, just add that into the other notes section. Great. So thanks everyone for your time. We'll talk soon.